What is up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the West Coast Offensive. I am your host, Kyle Dewhurst. Today, joining you to talk about some sports. We're going to be talking NBA playoffs, recapping those two series that ended and ultimately sent two teams to the finals. And of course, we'll preview that finals matchup between the Phoenix Suns and the Milwaukee Bucks. Then we'll look at the NFL and talk about one story, specifically on how I think the Cowboys being on Hard Knocks can be very interesting and very telling of what that franchise is going for. But that is going to be today's episode. But when we come back after this little break, we will talk about all those things. All right, welcome back, everybody. Now, earlier this year, a couple episodes ago, Drew and I predicted how the NBA playoffs will shake up and picked our two picks for the teams that are going to represent the Western and the Eastern Conference in the NBA. And we were right. I picked the Phoenix Suns to make it to the finals, and Drew, of course, picked Milwaukee to make it as well. And those are the two teams we got, which feel good about it. Predicted it, and here we are. We didn't pick a winner, but I'm pretty sure Drew is going to pick Milwaukee because that's his team, and I wouldn't fault him for it. I want to save that for the when we talk about actually the finals preview, but just wanted to start off at the top saying, hey, we got it right. We predicted it and we got our teams right. But let's talk about how we got here first. The Suns and the Clippers in that game 6, Suns beating the Clippers 130-103. And 2 games earlier, I just want to talk about the 84-80 win for the Suns in game 4, which was a defensive struggle. I like watching games. And then we have this one, of course. Suns going up 130-103, all behind Chris Paul. Chris Paul in the second half scoring 31 of his 41 points to send the Suns over the Clippers into the finals. So I think, key here in this matchup, it was Chris Paul coming out and basically saying, no, I ain't missing another finals. I ain't spending another year not making it into the finals. This is his 16th year in the league, first time getting into the finals. So he looked like a man on a mission in that game, especially that second half. Like I said, 31 of his 41 points came in the second half. Devin Booker added 22 to that score overall. He looked a little off. Again, his nose being injured and wearing a mask. Booker isn't a guy who can wear a mask, it seems like. He just seems like a different player. So that's something to watch going forward, but I don't think is really a big issue. Moving on, he probably will be fine once we get into the finals and actually they start playing some games. But that definitely was a thing in this series I saw with Booker in a mask. Not that great. Not that great. But of course, Chris Paul came back at the right time and willed this team into the playoffs. So excited to see that. Would the game have been different? Would this series have been different if Kawhi Leonard was in? I don't know. He was injured, but what can you say? You know, injuries are injuries. It is what it is. Everyone had injuries at one point. I mean, Chris Paul was out. I mean, that's not an injury. He was out with COVID. But every team has had injuries this playoffs. It's just kind of been the trend. I don't think there's anything more to it other than it happens, you know? But overall, yeah, I'm excited to see the Suns in. We'll see the Clippers, what they do next offseason. I still think they can be a threat going forward. Especially if Leonard gets back healthy and we get a full season with that. So we'll see what it is. But hey, Suns are in. Now let's talk Bucks and Hawks. Bucks and Hawks in Game 6 as well. Bucks won 118-107. Key here is the fact that Giannis was out. Remember, he hyperextended his knee, has been out with that injury. Reports today, as I looked, doing some research before we started recording, it seems like everything is progressing well. He's made tremendous strides in healing that leg, and he looks good. So I expect maybe he misses game 1 of the finals, but he should be back for most of this series unless he re-aggravates it. But it's looking good for him. But in this game 6 against the Hawks, he was out, and Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton specifically in the third quarter of this game, really took over and solidified this win for the Bucks to send them into the finals. You know what, Hawks? I would have loved Atlanta to get into the finals and we get Atlanta and Suns in this championship. But hey, it didn't happen. All I know is Atlanta's got a stud in Trae Young, and they're going to be good going forward. So they need some help on the outside for Trae Young. You know, when they need to score, Young has to score. And that's never a good thing. We see it in Portland when games on the line, Dame needs to score. Not going to work in these 7-game series. So they need some help on the inside or on the outside to give him some extra shooters, but I expect I expect Atlanta to be back in the playoffs next year, pushing again for a finals. Just if Young can stay healthy and stay the way he's playing, and they can help him, it's exciting what's going on in Atlanta down there. But let's talk Bucks because they're the ones in the finals right now. In that game 6, Chris Middleton put up 32 points. Right behind him, Drew Holiday added 27 points. This was something that we knew about Milwaukee was they kept not being able to get there. Something was wrong every year. And the addition of Drew Holiday and Middleton being able to both, with Giannis out, put up the points and secure this win, I think is huge for them going forward. Because in years past, it seems like it had to run through Giannis, and if you can stop him or slow him down enough, you got to win right there. If you can slow Giannis, you slow the whole team. But now it seems, hey, doesn't matter. Giannis is not in. He's out with injury. Boom. They still got scores. They still got ways to attack that rim and slow. And their defense still held up. So overall, I'm looking forward to this matchup between. Let's transition now over that. I'm excited for this matchup between the Bucks and the Suns. I looked up; they've played only twice this past season, in February and in April. And Phoenix won both games, so they're 2-0 this season against the Bucks. But in February, the Suns won 126. Bucks had 125. In April, Phoenix won again, 129-128 in overtime. So 2 very close games. Overall, Phoenix won by a total of 2 points over those 2 games. So these were close, tough games. I mean, in the triple digits, both scores. So I'm expecting a great series. Some hot, heavy series. I don't like saying that. Competitive series. That was a weird way to say it. Anyways, yeah, I expect a really competitive series between these two teams. I mean, we saw it in their past scores this season. Close games going into overtime in one of them. So I expect some good action in this series here. For the Phoenix, actually for both teams, the only player on either team with finals experience is Jay Crowder on the Suns, who went with the Miami Heat a couple years ago. Other than that, no one has been to the finals, which is really exciting because I think we'll see a desire for both teams from both sides to really push the win. And I think that's going to be what's going to determine who's going to win this game. This series is who can do it. Well, of course, yeah. That didn't make sense, really. Of course, whoever could do it is going to win the series, right? Whoever can win is going to win, right? But I think what I'm trying to say is that whichever team can overcome those challenges, I mean, both teams have been through the ringer on these series. They've played, both of them, a couple of them have played long series. I mean, Milwaukee, Phoenix did sweep in the first round, I think, and then I'm just going to pull up the bracket real quick. Phoenix went 4-2, then 4-0 over Denver, and then 4-2 against the Clippers. Milwaukee went 4-0, 4-3, and then 4-2 overall. So, both these teams have had similar runs in the playoffs. Milwaukee had to play 1 7-game series, so they played one more game than Phoenix has. But overall, these teams were probably going to be tired. You saw Chris Paul. I mean, after the game, he was exhausted, and that's talked about is, these teams are going to be tired. So it's overcoming that, resting properly, and seeing this is the first time both these teams have been in this scenario in the finals. This is it. The Suns' starting lineup has played the most minutes in the whole playoffs. The most used lineup for Milwaukee has played the second most minutes in the whole playoffs. So these two lineups, I'm going to say Milwaukee's starting lineups, but it's not their starting lineup. It's their most used lineup. They change a lot. Budenholzer has done a pretty good job with adapting and making tweaks and adjustments to his lineups depending on what's going on in the series. And that's been a key to why Milwaukee is where they're at right now. So that's going to be huge, is what team can adapt and get this done and overcome this exhaustion. It's that mentality of when you're in the playoffs, you lock in. You see it with LeBron in the past couple of years, where playoff Bron is something else. He is locked in. So let's see which team could lock in. I think that's going to be huge. Another thing is Giannis. Is Giannis going to play? Is he going to miss a game? Is he going to miss more than one game? Like I said earlier, his knee looks good. Reports are everything's progressing well. Why wouldn't you say that, though? Were you going to say that it's not going well? You're going to tell people we expect him out for a while? No, you're going to say everything's good and hope he's ready for game 1. So overall, I mean, it's Monday right now as I record this. Tomorrow is game 1. Tuesday the 6th. So we'll see. We'll see if Giannis can get in. If not, I don't think it's a huge deal missing one game. Even if the Suns get that win, that's okay. It's one game. You let Giannis rest, get that knee better so he can come back later in the series. But again, Middleton and Holiday and that whole Bucks, Brooke Lopez, all those players really performed well in that game 6 against Atlanta. So if they can continue that against Phoenix, even if Phoenix gets out the first win, if it's close, cool. You know what? You'll take that. You'll take seeing what Phoenix wants to do. You can adjust and attack accordingly when you get Giannis back. So I really think it's going to depend how long Giannis is out. Out multiple games, and if Phoenix, let's say he's out 2 games, Phoenix gets up 2-0, that's a tough position. The tough position to put Milwaukee in just because of how hungry Phoenix is. Both these teams are, but I think it's you don't want to go down 2-0 without Giannis, even if he comes back and is back to 100%. That's a tough hill to climb, right? It's a tough hill to climb. So I don't know who I want Phoenix to win. That's going to be my pick, is Phoenix overall. Not part of it is because Drew really wants Milwaukee to win, and part of it is I'm kind of more into what the Suns are doing overall. I would love to see Chris Paul get a finals champion. First one in his career getting to the finals, and to win it in his first time would be awesome. The team has been good, right? It's fun to see both these teams. Phoenix has never won a finals ever. Milwaukee has won one shortly after they first joined the league. After that, both these teams have been in a drought. So we'll see. Key, Giannis. How long is he out? Is he going to play? Is he at 100%? That is going to be the key to me in this series. I think, Milwaukee can eke out a couple wins. Not eke out. They can win a couple of these games, but without Giannis, and if they go down too far without Giannis, if they go down multiple games without Giannis, it's going to be real tough to come back. So I think that's something the key to watch for. I think both these teams match up pretty well. We saw in the regular season how they matched up, close games. So I expect some close games, and 1 or 2 of these games is just going to be a coin flip. It's going to be less than 5 seconds left. Random 3-point shot, hope for the best. One team's going to make it, other team's not. That's how it's going to go, and it's going to be just whatever happens, happens. I expect some really, really close games that either team can win. It's just going to come down on the wire, which, hey, I'm all for that. This is exciting. I'm excited about these finals. I'm excited to watch each game because both these teams have not won in so long. Jay Crowder is the only guy who's been in the finals. This is exciting for so many reasons. These players are hungry. I expect tough, competitive play. It's going to get a little chippy at times, too. It's going to get a little chippy. We saw it with, what's his name? PJ Tucker. PJ Tucker really took the wind out of, what's his name? Durant. So I expect some tough defense from both sides. I'm excited for this series overall. So I'm going to pick Phoenix to win it. That's going to be my pick. I'm going to run with the West on this one. And I know even without asking Drew, he's probably going to pick Milwaukee to win. Just how can he not? His team's in the finals. So it's going to be exciting. So we'll come back next week with trying to think of math. Maybe the series is over by next week. Maybe it's not. But anyways, we'll talk about the series as it goes on and as the games happen and we discover what is going to happen in this series. But we'll take a quick break and we'll come back and talk about some NFL news. Welcome back, everybody. So looking at the NFL now, we know who is going to be on Hard Knocks. Now, Hard Knocks is, of course, the HBO show every offseason that goes behind the scenes of training camp for an NFL team. Super interesting. The Raiders were on it a couple years ago during the Antonio Brown stint, a couple months when he was on the team. And last season was the Rams and the Chargers. Watched the first episode, then never watched it again because I just didn't care. It didn't care. Like, pick one team. That's what I care about. This was like, ooh, teams are back in LA. Who cares? Who cares? Also, it's COVID, so who cares? But this one I think can be exciting. I really do, because Dallas is in it. Of course, Dallas is in it. I think HBO asked Mr. Jerry Jones, hey, you want to be on Hard Knocks? And Jerry Jones had to think about it. No, I'm pretty sure he was absolutely stoked to be on Hard Knocks, to get that publicity, get back into gain that aura of being America's team once again. So, not surprising that they went with Dallas. But let's talk actual storylines here. Of course, the big one is Dak Prescott. He went down with that gruesome injury. People question whether Dallas would even give him the money, would even, give him another contract, because he was in a contract year. And what do? Your star player goes down, but is he your star player? Were you going to win anything? Was he going to fall short? No one knew. Last season was the season for him to prove it. And unfortunately, he goes down with an injury that ends his season early. But of course, hey, Dallas did the right thing, arguably. Dallas did the good thing. Let's say that. Dallas did a good thing and re-signed him, gave him the money. He got the payday, treated their person well. And you got to love that. You got to treat your players well. They did. He went down with an injury. He played before getting a contract to earn it. And he got injured, which most players don't want to do. They want to get the money up front, at least get a contract up front in case they get injured. Didn't happen. He got injured. But of course, the team signed him. So good for them, taking care of him. But now, let's get to the play on the field. And I think this is why this HBO series can be so interesting, is we get to see Prescott behind the scenes, one thing, in training camp, seeing how he is doing on that new leg of his. Just how is he recovering from the injury? I think that's going to be a key thing in seeing, is it the right thing to re-sign him? Did he deserve that contract? Is he going to regress? Quarterbacks with leg injuries sometimes take a step back. I mean, Alex Smith, absolutely phenomenal what he did last season, coming back from that really bad injury where reports after we discovered when they made it into the playoffs, he almost died. He had an infection and it was life-threatening. Is crazy. And then he came back and played 5 games and had a winning record in the NFL after a horrible injury that ended some people's career. So that's one positive, but does that person prove the rule, or go against what the rule? Usually the rule of thumb is quarterback's gonna take some time to get back adjusted into the pocket. I think of Derek Carr when he went down with a broken leg. The next season, he was jumping in the pocket. He was dancing around. He looked uncomfortable at times, especially when teams got consistent pressure on him. He wasn't comfortable. And it's hard. When you get hit low and you break your leg, that's hard to stand in the pocket. So we'll see how he responds. And that's one storyline I'm really interested in Hard Knocks for the Cowboys. Dak Prescott. I want to know how he's doing. I want to see him drop back. I want to know more about this injury and how he's recovering. And just to know, hey, what are we going to get? Are we going to get Dak, like a playoff Dak, or is he going to regress? So I think that's going to be huge to see there. Also, another storyline is just this offense. Overall, it's just, what is McCarthy doing with this offense? And the team as a whole. Honestly, the defense is a question mark too. What is this defense going to do? But what I want to know is the offense behind McCarthy. This is a team that got a lot of garbage points early in the season before Dak went down. They would lose, they would get a lot of garbage stats going in towards the end of games, and that's great. Dak was, I think, 2 weeks, at least 1 week, but I believe it's 2 weeks after his injury, he was still leading the league in passing yards. But they weren't a good team. So it's one of those things where, okay, what is this offense? Is that what the offense is, and is it just the defense holding them back? Or what? So that's going to be something to see there, how Dak is fitting back into the offense. So those are the two things I'm really looking for. It's all about Dak. I want to know what Dak is. Also, Jerry Jones, like I said earlier, of course he is probably happy the Cowboys got asked to do Hard Knocks. I'm excited for it. I think this is one of the better ones. Like I said before, the Raider one was cool until it very quickly. I mean, as a Raider fan, it was awesome. I loved it. Until it became clear, or until the moment that Antonio Brown became an issue. And it wasn't even in the show that he was an issue. It was during the season, once we got to the season, and it was like, oh, he's not happy, and then all of a sudden he's off the team, and he's in Tampa doing his own thing now. That it very much erased what that show was for Raider fans, at least for me as a Raider fan. It erased it because the show really focused on Antonio Brown, and now he's not even on a team, and he did nothing for us. So it's whatever. We did get a cool thing of Lee Farrell and Jonathan Abram riding horses. So that was fun. Also, Abram shows Salmon. He pronounces it Salmon. Anyways, now I'm just reminiscing about the show. But before the Raiders, I kind of didn't care about the team, and then only cared about the Raiders because it was the Raiders, but it wasn't that interesting of a storylines. Last season, again, they did Chargers and Rams because they both were in LA officially with their new stadium. Of course, no fans, and COVID really changed what that storyline and how the show was even shot. But overall, there was nothing really that interesting in these shows. So now with Cowboys, Dak is back, injury. I think this could shape up to be interesting. I'm excited to watch the first episode, and then for sure know, all right, is this something to keep watching or not? So we'll see. Again, makes sense that Dallas is on it. Not surprised at all. But that is going to conclude this episode of the West Coast Offensive. We got a shorter episode, but again, not a lot of news in the NFL. Once these finals concludes, I'm going to take a look and see. The show might go on every 2 weeks until we start getting into training camps and we start getting more news out of the NFL as the NBA season closes. Baseball continues, but I don't care. It's not interesting until it's interesting, right? I will say it is crazy that one Angel player's Otani. I'm probably wrecking the name. I'm not looking anything up. I'm just doing this off the cuff. He's a two-way player who got named to the All-Star as a pitcher and a positional player. First time in history that's happened, so that's really cool. But again, not that into baseball. Anyways, that is going to conclude another episode of the podcast. I've already said this. But yeah, so the show might go on a 2 week, every 2 weeks until we get some more news and it justifies going every week. It's not a lot. Maybe we'll add some more guests and do more off-season and review stuff for football. But again, it might go 2 weeks. I'll know more once, this week. I'll know after this week. So next week, there'll be an update on what the show is going to look like moving forward. But for now, this has been another episode of the West Coast Offensive. That's 3 times saying that part. You can find us and listen to us on your favorite podcast services such as Spotify, Google Podcasts, and on Apple Podcasts, and a host of others. If you're on Apple, we would love for you to leave us a review. It helps boost the searchability if we have a couple more reviews. So if you're on Apple or you don't mind going over to an Apple website, you can do it online. Just go to applepodcast.com, something like that. You can review our show, leave us 5 stars to help us out, and leave a review. What you like, what you don't like, what you want us to improve on, what you want us to talk about more. You can do that all on Apple Podcasts and leave us a review there, 5 stars to help us get discovered. You can also head over to our YouTube channel to find the full podcast in video form and clips as well of some of the different breakout segments on the show, such as like last week we did an AFC North in review. You can just watch that video as well if you just want a recap of what myself and Drew, as we recorded that a couple weeks ago, Drew was on that. If you want to know what Drew and I think and see in the AFC North and predict how we think the standings are going to work out between those 4 teams in that division, you can catch all that on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/The West Coast Offensive. Just search it up, click that bear logo, subscribe, and click the notification bell to never miss out on those videos. You can also follow us on all the social media that matters, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, all at the West Coast Offensive. Again, just click that bear logo, search West Coast Offensive, find the profile or account with this logo, and follow, like, subscribe, and whatever. You can leave comments, reach out through those platforms to interact on there as well, ask questions, suggest topics that you want myself to talk about, or maybe even some guests you want on to talk about as well. Talk about certain topics, whatever you guys want. Reach out. Totally down for that. Final thing is, if you want to support the show, if you think this is worth supporting, I super appreciate it, and I would appreciate your support. But you can do so at buymeacoffee.com/the West Coast Off. That is the West Coast Off. Buy Me a Coffee is a platform for creators to have fans support them through simply buying them a coffee. It's very simple. You can buy multiple coffees or just one single one. Super cool. Love the site. A lot of different fun creators on there as well. But you can head over there to support the show. We would super appreciate that. That is buymeacoffee.com/the West Coast Of course, if you can't do that, no worries. No worries. You can still support the show by going to any of the platforms we are on, either on YouTube or just on your preferred platform service, podcast service. And again, following, subscribing, liking, whatever platform justifies that and whatever it is on that platform. Sometimes it's liking, subscribing, I don't know, following. That's another way you could support us, getting clicks and sharing the show as well, showing it to friends and family, whoever you think might want some sports news in their life. You can send them right over here to the West Coast Offensive. Well, we'll be back next week, like I said, probably, hopefully, well, depending on how the NBA Finals goes, maybe we'll be recapping finals as a whole. That'd be pretty shocking, though. But we'll at least recap what is going on in the finals. And, of course, you'll get an update on what the show is going to look like going forward and such. So, until next week, remember, stay kind to others and be safe out there.